Welcome to One of Those, the show that explores the art of sneaker culture. I'm your host, Adam Butler, back with another episode. Thank you so kindly for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, I am back, man. I was down for the count. I thought it was allergies. It turned out to be a nasty little cold. Lost my voice for a week. You can hear that I'm still a little bit raspy, but I'm back in the building, man. And a lot has been going on since I was off air. We're going to talk about it. But before I get into it, I want to let you know, because I haven't said this in a while, you need to go on to the Up On Game Network. Go to our YouTube and our iHeart platform, all podcasting platforms, and subscribe to the network. We're doing big things. I say it every week. You should know by now. You're here watching me, so you need to go ahead and check out some of our new programming Up On Game. Trust me, I wouldn't steer you wrong, man. We here. A lot of cool stuff. Trust your boy. All right? Okay, so unless you've been living underneath of a rock, you know that Kanye West has been, how can I put this, a little controversial lately, okay? I've talked about him several times on this show. I'm going to say this. This is probably the last time I'll talk about Kanye on this show. However, I felt it important to bring it up today, not just to talk about sneakers, but to sort of talk about the impact of the man. And why I thought it was fair is because when I've had people on the show before, like Shake and other people, especially people that are affiliated with Adidas, I've talked about Kanye West and I've talked about his impact in sneakers, how he's important, been complimentary to Kanye West. And I think I have to give that same energy when I disagree with the man. Now, I've disagreed with him when it comes to certain business things, but this one kind of crosses the line. So full warning, I'm going to be talking about sneakers, but I'm also going to be talking about just Kanye West in general. And I'm not alone on this one or with this one. My man Panama Jackson is in the building. He's been on the show before, man. He's a columnist over at the Grio. He's also the host of the Dear Culture podcast. He used to be down with the Very Smart Brothers. He's known. People know him. And he wrote a really dope article over on the Grio titled, "At This Point, I Don't Even Want the Old Kanye Back." So we're going to talk about it, man. We're going to break down Kanye West, where he stands in the culture right now. Will it impact the sneaker sales? Will it impact the music sales? And do we even care anymore? All right, let's jump right into it. Without further ado, my man Panama Jackson's in the building. Panama, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother? How you doing, man? Good to be back here. It's been a while.
Yeah, man. Good to have you back, bro. I actually ran a repeat of our show that we did way back, and it was just like it was like it was new. You know what I mean? People love hearing from you, brother. You are a very smart brother, and a well-versed guy when it comes to certain things, man. I've been talking about Kanye a lot on this show, mainly from a business standpoint. You know, this is a sneaker show and a fashion show, so I've been talking about it from the Adidas kind of like, Gap perspective, but I warned the audience beforehand that this is going to be more about Kanye the person as opposed to Kanye the designer, even though we can get into that a little bit. But you wrote a piece that says, "At this point, I don't even miss the old Kanye." And I want to talk about that. We want people to go read it. You know what I mean? We want people to go to the Grill and read it, but I thought that stood out, because a lot of times you hear people talk about, I miss the old Kanye, and it's like yearning for a time, when Kanye was less controversial and easier to stomach. Just sort of talk to me about what you meant by that when you say, I don't even miss the old Kanye.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. And I don't even know if we miss a time when Kanye was less controversial. It's just, it wasn't controversy that did harm to blackness, right? Like Kanye has always been controversial. He's always been a little bit provocative, spoke his mind a little bit too much, but most of it seemed about like getting into rooms he wasn't invited into, and, kind of exalting himself, perhaps like shining his own light brighter than the rest of us might. But, you could kind of understand a little bit of that brashness that, he was fighting for relevancy in a space that seemed not to want him, though now he's probably one of the most influential parts of hip hop culture, like ever at this point, right? So that his controversy was always rooted in his own like self-worth, but But over time, it started to become pseudo-political, but like politically uninformed.
Yeah.
And as he moved more in that direction, I think that's what has pushed me to the point where I don't even miss. When I say I don't miss the old Kanye, it's like I'm kind of over him altogether. Like I don't even miss that version anymore because that guy is dead. Like that guy don't even exist. Like whoever that was, people have been responding and commenting like, it's always been the same person, but I don't think so. Like I don't know what changed. We all try to find these markers in Kanye's career and life. The death of his mother, when he kind of became a Kardashian. Like I don't know what it is that really flipped the switch. He has mental health issues that he's been very vocal about.
Right.
But there's a bridge too far, and he got there for me.
Yeah.
And that bridge has made it so that I'm less concerned about what Kanye brought to the table before, how culturally significant he was before, how much he mattered in my own musical journey and all that stuff. And I just can't, like I said in the article, I'm kind of ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to Kanye at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I mentioned before, I've spent a couple of shows talking about Kanye, from the Adidas thing, the Gap thing, because again, that's what we talk about on this show. And I'm sure the audience could hear it in my voice that I've grown extremely tired of him, not just as a personality, but even as a creative. You know what I mean? Like it's actually impacting how I look at the sneaker he designs or the music he makes. I haven't been a big Kanye music fan for a while, but that's just a matter of taste. It has nothing to do. The music just wasn't for me. But I definitely, as a sneakerhead and a guy that, is interested in fashion, I won't call myself a fashion guy, but a guy that's interested in it.
Right.
Even when I look at this, everything he says seems shallow to me. And it seems like there's for a greater good of, well, I want to get out my Adidas deal, so I'm going to act crazy so I get my Adidas. That's how cynical I feel about him. That's how I feel about him at this point. I don't believe anything he's saying. I don't believe that there's a deeper truth other than I'm not getting my way. The world doesn't agree with me, so I'm going to keep talking until someone out there agrees with me. So that brings me to this Nori interview, right? Which we don't got to spend time. I'm not here to make fun of Noriega. Like that's not what I'm here to do. But I do want to talk about how, should we still be giving him platforms like this when we know, or I feel like he doesn't have anything to say? Like, I feel like out of that entire interview, he ultimately said nothing. And the few things you sort of stumbled upon were just things that were offensive.
So I haven't watched the full interview yet. I did start watching it. I've seen enough to know where this is all going, right? Yeah. And I've watched enough Kanye interviews. I watched his interview on Tucker Carlson, or at least the first part of it. I think they aired the second part. My only issue with airing out a Kanye interview at this point is that there's really no pushback. So, for instance, the Shop, LeBron James show that I think is on HBO. They decided not to air an episode where he showed up, right? And my guess is probably because he went on there and said all the things he said. Like in the beginning of the Drink Champs episode, he opens up talking about the Jewish media and all this stuff. And here's the thing. I'm not in that world, so I don't know who owns everything or whatever. So it's possible on a factual basis, he's not wrong about some of this stuff. He could be very right. Like it could be that if you have a lawyer or whatever, I don't know, right? And I don't want to get in a business of like labeling all of that stuff because I don't know. But there's a way that you state facts, if they are facts, that comes across extremely derogatory. Like that's the problem. Like let's say that every major record label is owned by a Jewish family or something like that, right? But when you lob that in there as if they're ruining your culture, it's like, okay, so it's all predatory, right? You turn it into this negative thing, which is when all of a sudden the very people that you are trying to get to speak your truth to, who have control over all the stuff that you're trying to use to get your message out, like what are you winning? You know what I mean? Like, what are you actually winning, and what point are you making? Because it doesn't really sound like you're making any points. It sounds like you're venting, but you're venting frequently because you're Kanye West. Somebody is always going to be willing to give you a space to do it because, as Nori pointed out, he's getting views like crazy.
Yeah.
His first interview with Kanye did crazy numbers.
Yeah.
So this one is doing crazy numbers because Kanye's basically not being invited to the table anywhere, right?
Right.
So this is the space that Kanye's going to have to air it out. And no shade, no shots to Nori. Nori is a friend of Kanye West, right?
Yeah.
That's his homie.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of pushback that you're going to get from somebody that's that close to you. And I don't know if they're best friends or nothing like that. Obviously, I don't think that they are, but Nori points out that you're a friend. You're my brother. I love you. I care.
Right.
There's a certain amount of pushback. Like the clip that everybody's talking about with Kanye doing that thing that has been debunked in court.
Yes.
That Candace Owens' nonsensical self did an entire documentary about George Floyd. Like, you don't just not push back on that.
Yeah.
You shut that down entirely.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't care what you have to say, bro. We're not going down this road.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then it makes the rest of the interview is just a platform for Kanye to come in and say what he wants to say.
Yes.
And that's what it feels like it is. He just talking.
Yeah.
And even if he has some valid points, which you're talking for that long, there are valid points that you're going to make. I'm listening to it. I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Right.
But when you do so much damage with the bad points, it overshadows any goodness that comes along with the few times that you're on the mark, right? So it's like, I don't know. We tried this with Trump, right? You take Twitter away from him, you take all these things away, and it has muted some of his significance, like to the greater society, whatever. And I almost think you got to do that with Kanye. But the problem that I have with that is like, Trump is a president, right? Like, you got to be, your president shouldn't be doing this. Kanye just a citizen.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he should be able to speak his mind, right? We're listening, we care because of the culture, but he ain't hurting. I mean, I feel like he's doing damage, like, rhetorically to the black community. Like, he shouldn't have that rhetoric out there, but part of me feels like he should have the right to that platform. We should just all not be participating with it, right? Like, that's what that is. Trump shouldn't have the platform. He's the president. Like, it's different. You're beholden to all of us who pay taxes and all of these things. You shouldn't be using your platform that way. Kanye's just an idiot with a big platform.
Yeah, what the president says could take us to war. Kanye just irritates you. And so I hear you with that one.
Right. He's doing more damage to himself, really.
Yeah.
In any cause that he has with his family and all this other stuff than he is to the nation.
Yeah.
Right?
That brings me to something I want to bring up in a few when we get to actually talking about the shoes and stuff. But you're right. Like when I think about what happens on these platforms, and you and I, we both host podcasts. You've been hosting stuff and moderating events for years. I've moderated events for years. I Paul Spann, who you know well,
of course.
We said that, people get railroaded sometimes when they deal with him. And when I mean by railroaded, I don't mean it like to be disrespectful. It's just sometimes the train goes off the tracks when you're interviewing somebody or you're moderating somebody. They're in a bad mood. Maybe you said something that they felt was disrespectful, and now all of a sudden the thing isn't going how you thought it was going to go. Or you may have a situation where you bring somebody on and they're saying a bunch of things that you don't want to put out to your audience, because again, a platform is one thing, but Drink Champs is not CNN. It's not the news. It's an entertainment show. So is The Shop, right? So I feel like Mav Carter and them, not to speak for them, I don't know what happened, but I feel like things went off the rails.
Right.
We made a decision to go, you know what? We didn't have control of that interview. It was hard for me to reel them in. I couldn't get it. And ultimately it's going to hurt our bottom line by putting them out. I think that Nori is now realizing that, because he has apologized. He went on Breakfast Club. He apologized. He explained what happened. He explained that Kanye said, if you cut the cameras off, you're going to walk out. And he really didn't want him to walk out and all this. And it's his friend, all of these things. So, I'm not big on, if someone decides to put Kanye on their platform, that's what they decide. It's on the people. It's on the people, whether or not they decide to watch it. But one thing I do want to talk about is, because you mentioned this, how it impacts him. And what people listen to this show for is to learn about sneakers and sneaker culture, and Yeezys are as big as they get. But one thing that's been going on is Yeezys are starting to sit. And they, I don't know if it's a coincidence that they've been sitting for the last month or so. And, the resale and all of this is starting to go down. Can you see a situation, or can you see a world where people decide they aren't going to wear his stuff and buy his stuff, music or sneakers, because of his opinion and because of the rhetoric? Has it finally become too much?
That's a good question. So let's start with the Yeezy sitting. I mean, every
Hmm.
shoe sitting. You walk into
Yeah.
Jimmy Jazz and you can get
Yeah. You.
shoes that were on sneakers that people are trying to clamor over a year ago. We'd all be fighting over, and they're all sitting there in all sizes.
Hmm.
I went to a store recently, and like that New Balance protection pack, like the coastal, they had like 200 pairs in the
Yeah.
store that they told me, because I told them, I was like, oh, I thought these were exclusive. Like, we got like 200 back there.
Word.
Whatever size you need, we
Yeah.
have multiple in, right? So
Yeah.
shoes are sitting.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, Kanye has the one thing I think on the sneaker side that I've always been critical of like the Yeezy thing is like they just
Hmm.
there's too many. I know Kanye had this whole idea that everybody was going to get a pair of Yeezys, like he wanted everybody to have a pair.
Right.
Maybe we got to that point where you only need so many anyway. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all the shoes look the same, the colors are all the same. So I think that
Yeah.
probably participates in it. I do wonder if the kind of people who care that much about somebody's politics, somebody like Yeezy, would still be buying them anyway, right? Like I'm a sneakerhead. I have Yeezys, I have
Mhm.
550s, I got 350s, I think that's all I have actually. Oh, and I got the Wave Runners. I have Wave Runners because I bought them way back, whatever.
Right.
I'm not gonna buy no more.
Mhm.
Like I just like I care. This is the point where I care, right? So
Mhm.
you pushed me too far. I think like I've probably gone a lot further than other people because I'm a big fan of Kanye. Like the
Yeah.
musically, like as much of a music fan that I am,
Yeah.
I think Kanye matters in that. Like I critically engage with his art. I appreciate the talent.
Hmm.
Even through a lot of the controversy, I still like part of me kind of hoped
Yeah.
he would find his way back home because
Yeah.
that's, you kind of always hope that. And at this point, I just don't. I think he's too far gone, or maybe he's already been there, and I've been in denial. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so I think the people that are always going to buy his Yeezys, they're not going to stop. I was out the other day and I saw tons of people walking around in Yeezys, right? And I
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah.
those people care. They don't care one way or the other. They don't. They're there for the shoes. They're not there for the
Right.
the politics.
Right.
Because the shoes are still a marker of cool. They're
Mhm.
still part of the hype beast thing. Like I'm not saying everybody who gets him as a hype beast, but
Right.
like it's part of that combo. He's a part of the cultural conversation in those ways. He still matters, or maybe that mattering will decline over time.
Hmm.
I don't know that I care.
Mm.
I don't know if other people care that much. I think there's a young demographic of people that pay attention to Kanye that probably couldn't care less because
Yeah.
younger people are more rebellious anyway, right? Like,
Right.
it's a tough question. Like, I don't know. I guess time will tell. I guess is the easy answer, maybe the cop out
Yeah.
answer. But all shoes are sitting right now. Once
Yeah.
when shoes start picking back up again, or maybe they never will. Everybody's
Right.
trying to crack down on this.
Right.
And but Kanye's still cranking them out, or Yeezy, or Adidas is,
Yeah.
whoever in the
Right.
world owns this now is cranking them joints. I
Yeah.
got an email today about the taupe joints, right? Like, so they're
Yeah.
still going to be releasing shoes because there's still money to be made there.
That's the interesting thing. I have a theory as to why Kanye's wilding out right now, and I think it's to get out of that Adidas contract. But that's a whole other thing. I won't get into
You ain't
conspiracy.
wrong.
Yeah, I really, because he's hit like all of the like he's hit all of the he's trying all the buttons, and it's interesting to me. But I agree with you, and I do think that more socially aware people, and because if you aren't socially aware, that's not an insult. I'm just saying some people are extremely socially aware, right? I was
Right.
talking to a friend of mine before we jumped on this record, and I was telling him that like some people there are probably people out there that don't even really realize a lot of this stuff is going on. Like they're not on social media all day. They're not paying attention to the news. They're not up on every social ill that happens, because at this point we have like 5, 6 of them a day. So sometimes people just look, I got 4 pairs of shoes. One of them happened to be a pair of Yeezys. I'm going to wear my Yeezys today. And I'm not thinking about the drama and the controversy. And some people, like you say, don't care. But I do think that more people than ever will start to have that feeling. R. Kelly is not a good example, okay? Because R. Kelly committed heinous crimes. So it's not the greatest example I could come up with, but I do remember when the tide started to turn on R. Kelly about 10 years ago, when the tide really started to turn and people really started to realize like, maybe I shouldn't be, stepping in the name of love right now, and again, I'm not, Kanye West has not done what R. Kelly did at all. That's not where I'm going, but I'm saying that when, you can only push people to the limit, but so far, like you can't push people so close to their limit. And I do think that some people have reached their limit. For the first time, I'm thinking about, like, I only own one pair of Yeezys right now. I've sold a couple just because honestly, the aesthetic doesn't please me like it used to. You know what I mean? But I talked about that on the show before, but I think that I will be avoiding Yeezys for more reasons than aesthetics. It'll be because I don't know if I want to be wearing that. You know what I mean? I felt like that. I'm a Washington Commanders fan, sadly. I started to feel like that about wearing Redskin gear at one point. You know what I mean? Like the tide turns at some point. Like it's like I'm a fan, but also I feel like people are looking at me when I'm wearing this shirt now. You know what I mean? I care about it now because I've been pushed to my limit. You know what I mean? And I know I'm there, but I do agree with you that I think that I don't know if the majority is there yet. I don't think the majority will ever get there because I'm not sure people care that much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, when that White Lives Matter thing, the reason why it was a bridge too far, aside from what it specifically and explicitly says, right? And the rallying cry that is for white supremacists and all this other stuff, like, and Kanye ain't that dumb. I don't think he's that bright, but he ain't that dumb. He knows that.
He knows.
But it's also this idea that he believes that he's being provocative or that he's, he's stating the obvious, but also like he's taking control over something. Like, I have a big problem with you believing so much in what you're doing that you fail to see how harmful that is, right? Like you are genuinely offending people at this point.
Yeah.
And if you're okay with that for the sake of it, which is what it seems like, for the sake of your art or whatever it is you believe that you're doing, then we're not the same kind of people. And if we're not the same kind of people, I can't really be supporting you that way. So even though I already have these shoes and these Yeezys and things, and the thing is I find them very comfortable. Part of the reason why I wear them, they're really comfortable shoes, right? Like I think that's why most people that continue to wear them so often do, because of all the shoes you have, that Adidas Boost is really, really comfortable.
It is.
But for me, like it just ain't worth it. And I can't throw my support behind a person like that. I've already spent enough money with you.
Right.
And the problem that I also have is that as a pop culture like critic and person invested, like I'm gonna have to pay attention to all this stuff. Like I'm not gonna watch the Candace Owens doc because I don't want to support. I think you got to pay to get on Daily Wire to get it. I'm not doing that. I'm not throwing money that way.
Right.
But watching the Drink Champs interview that I'm going to watch, and I didn't even know Nori went on the Breakfast Club to talk about it and whatever. Yeah. It's like part of me is like, I have to know what's going on, so I need to watch this stuff. But I'm also annoyed while I'm doing it because I'm just like, and this is a full circle. Like, I really do look at this dude like, who are you, bro? Like, who is this guy? Because this is not the college dropout.
Yeah.
This is not, for me, the late registration Kanye, who, again, always provocative, always very misogynistic, very, he built himself into the rapper kind of guy, whatever. Whether you like his music or not, or his lyricism or not, and all these criticisms are all fair, they're all valid.
Right.
But like, I feel like I'm looking at an alien compared to the person that I have interacted with so much, the person whose art genuinely impacted me in the way that I viewed music and what you could do with it, right? Even if I didn't love it, I was glad that Kanye was able to make it and be this. I do think he's a musical genius. He was he is a person who was able to create this art. Now I'm in a place where I can't separate the art from the man, just like with the R. Kelly stuff, with all that. And you're right, R. Kelly and Kanye, two different worlds, right?
Yeah.
But the truth is, I can't remove your views, the ones that impact me. I can't remove you from those and go back and listen to this stuff. Like when I wrote that article, I went back and listened to that, I love Kanye, that it's basically a skit on the life of Pablo. And I'm listening to that over and over. And I'm like, it's so interesting. Like Kanye is in on the joke.
Yep.
Like he knows that he's a troll, but he knows this also moves units, and it's also just part of his shtick.
Yep.
I don't feel like it's the same guy. Like, honestly, if I heard, and you might have to bleep this particular word, I don't know, I can't, forgive me, but
Go
if
for it.
I got mad hearing Kanye say nigga.
Yeah.
I'm like, you ain't earned that no more. Like you don't have the right to say that no more, because I feel like you're ER in that one. Like, I almost feel like it feels weird when you say it now, because you've aligned yourself with people who have no business using that type of terminology. Like you move too far to the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So even when he's saying that, I'm just like, man, this ain't. It feels odd. It feels weird. It feels wrong.
Yeah. It's like Van said, man. Van Lathan, he said, like, either you're too stupid to realize, or you're evil and you're doing this to us on purpose. It doesn't feel like there's an in between anymore. And when I feel like someone's trolling me on purpose, you're trying to offend me on purpose for your own personal just gratification, just because, hey, I want to wear a White Lives Matter t-shirt, or I want to say something anti-Semitic, or I want to make fun of Lizzo, or whatever it may be, just for my own, just to make myself feel better, or whatever reason it may be. I'm beyond trying to figure out why he does it anymore. And there's still fans out there. I see people I follow on Twitter, they're bending themselves into pretzels right now, trying to make sense out of what the man is saying. And that's why I like what you wrote, because at this point, why are we still trying to make sense of it? But because for me, if you're just trying to get an emotional reaction out of me for your own, I don't even know, what you're just your personal enjoyment, then that's not someone I want to be. I don't want to be associated with that person in any way. I wouldn't have a friend like that. I wouldn't deal with a family member like that. So why would I let Kanye West do that to me?
Yeah. And I'll make a parallel that isn't too far off because of the illegal nature of the R. Kelly thing.
Yeah.
Lauryn Hill, right? Like, Lauryn Hill was a supernova at one point.
Yeah.
Right? After the Miseducation comes out in 98, I mean, Lauryn Hill can do no wrong.
Right.
But over time, the statements that she's made, her lateness at shows, it's like whatever was going on that became bigger than the way that we viewed her. And to be fair to Lauryn Hill, I can't imagine being a person who had that much placed on my shoulders, right? Like, Lauryn Hill represented everybody, women and men, and all. She was almost on Tupac levels in terms of like the way that we viewed her and cared. Yeah. And I think Kanye kind of got there. And with Lauryn, the thing that I hate, and this parallels to Kanye, it's like, with all the mocking and jokes that we lob at Lauryn nowadays, and how easy it is to do, like, it almost obscures how big of a deal she was and how important she was to the culture. Right. Like, Lauryn Hill, she's Lauryn, right? It's just one name. You don't even need her whole name. It's Lauryn, right? Like, that was the importance. And with Kanye or Ye, and he said that, my name is Ye now, so I should be calling him that. And he's right. He ain't wrong about that. Right. I remember in that article, I never called him Ye. I just kept calling him Kanye. And that's one regret that I have, because I'm like, respect that man's name. But, it's like, what he's doing now has done the same thing that I feel like Lauryn Hill did for her own body of work. Like, it obscures all of it. Like, it makes it hard to listen to it and view them in the same way, like, and to appreciate what you did bring and what you did change and what you did add to, like, the culture. Like, you got bigger than all the people that you were around. Like, he's bigger than Jay-Z. Kanye's bigger than all these folks, right? Like, he's literally bigger than all these people. And he's done it financially, he's done it artistically, creatively, and all that stuff. He's managed to literally succeed beyond what any of these people thought he was going to get to. Yeah. So for him to get to this point where it's like you're literally pulling the thread, but you pulled the whole damn thread out. Like, you pulled the whole thing out. Right. It's frustrating as a fan. And like I said in the article, I hope he and his family get it together, because ultimately, like, that brother, I hope his family is intact when whatever destruction he's trying to create comes to an end. Yeah. Like, for his children, for whatever. Like, I hope that everything is okay for them. Yeah. But I don't have it no more, man. And I don't know how at this point that can change. Like, I don't think he could just drop an amazing album and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I'm good with Kanye again. Like, I don't know if what he is capable of is good enough, creative enough, is contrite enough to bring me back. And I'm only one person, so maybe it doesn't matter, right? Like, who cares? Like, I'm just a person with an opinion who gets to share it in a larger platform than some other do, and that other people do. But I do hate that I cared that much that it annoys me. Like, I'm not hurt or nothing like that, but just like, damn, like, what? Why do you keep doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why is it everything that you build, you destroy?
Yeah.
And then you try to martyr yourself. You're trying to turn yourself into this martyr because he's doing that. He's like, man, people want to come get me, take me out, whatever. Like, bro, you're not a martyr. You a man who, for whatever reason, cannot be happy with success. You cannot be happy with it.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to blame everybody else for it, but at some point, you've done this enough times where it's got to be you.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
And that part is annoying. And that part, again, it's about him. It ain't even, it doesn't affect my life truly.
Yeah.
But, you love your artists and the people that helped inspire you in different ways and have given you something to write about or create for, or do all these other things, something to dream, something to look forward to. You know what I'm saying? Because Kanye has been all of that. And now it's just like, dude, I hope for his family's sake, wherever he's going with this, that it's not a bridge too far for them. As somebody who's had to cut family members out, that's a real thing. And, and I think maybe that's part of what's going on with him. Like, maybe his kids, they're going to read at some point.
Yeah.
Right? They can be reading all this, so they're going to see all this, right? Like, there's only so much hiding. Kim Kardashian, however you feel about her, that's still a mother, right? That's still a mom who probably doesn't want her children to be negatively impacted by all of this. But when you're one of the biggest people on the planet, and what you do moves the needle in a negative way now, like, what are you supposed to do? So I actually have some sympathy for Kim, honestly, at this point. And that's a sentence I never thought I'd say out loud.
Yeah. It's a terrible situation, man. But we're going to see how it plays out. I thank you so much, bro, for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure, man. I know you're a busy man, so I'm going to let you get to it. But we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Always a good time.
All right, brother. Big shouts out to Panama for joining me, man. I really, really like getting insight from him and speaking with him. I've talked about Kanye so many times on this show. I didn't want to come on here and just vent about Kanye and just, go on Kanye, to be honest with you. I'm not happy with the man right now. As a consumer of products, as a lover of sneakers and fashion, we'll just stick to that for a minute. But, like I said, the music and the sneakers, they go together. Hip hop breeds sneaker culture, you know what I mean? And Kanye West has been the ultimate example of that, of a man who comes from hip hop, who went into fashion design and clashed the worlds together. So this is why, especially in this space, Kanye West has been so important. But we got to call out things when they wrong, man. Yes, people have the right to say what they want to say. I definitely agree that, he shouldn't be deplatformed or anything like that. But I am choosing to ignore him. That's my right. I have that right to ignore him, just like he has the right to say whatever he wants. So for me, I'm not into it right now. I'm not into the sneakers. I'm not into the music. I don't need it. There's plenty of brands I could concentrate on, and there's definitely plenty of music I can listen to, and I don't need to have that stress in my life. But let me know what you think, okay? What do you think about what Kanye has to say, where he stands right now, and will the sneakers be impacted? Will the sneaker sales be impacted by his opinion? Do you care? Will you go cop Yeezys? Can you separate the man from the music and the man from the brand? Let me know what you think. Always hit us up on our social platforms, Up On Game Network, at Up On Game Network. Follow us. Follow the squad, man, the at On My Feet Network, and hit me up at MSR_Adam. At MSR_Adam. And you can also holler at me on TikTok. I keep the conversation going on both platforms. On TikTok, I'm the Butler Did It Podcast. At the Butler Did It Podcast. It's right there. The Butler Did It Podcast. Hit me up. All right. Remember, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, man. We just talked about a lot of craziness, but at the end of the day, life is good. You're here, you're breathing, so everything's okay. All right. Remember to mind your mental health. Stay on top of that, okay? Mind your mental health. Remember to mind your physical health. Definitely stay on top of that. There's a lot of things that's going to keep you away from that, so you need to be proactive. Do it. Go out there and just do it, okay? And never, ever, ever, ever forget, and please continue to be great. I'm up out of here.